JB here. Hope everyone's doing outstanding. Wednesday, November 5th, 9:14 on this fine morning talk. Quick about the market. Some names I'm looking at go from the S&P. Off the lows of the day, just flipped into the green here. Actually, just been chopping around since about 8:30, right around red to green. So pretty much flat after all the hype, the bubble hype. I mean, what is this? Michael Burry short T minus day two, whatever you want to call it. Um, not much in the way of catalyst. Yesterday was like, I was saying on the rant yesterday afternoon, it's like looking for the catalyst. People to try to rationalize it with, what was it, a tech caution. I forget the exact quotes of it. But nothing's really changed. It just, I mean, are we overextended some areas? So yesterday was all about Palantir, and the big short, obviously, 500 million put contracts on Palantir, 1 million on Nvidia by Michael Burry. You don't know the context of it. What was the cost basis? When was it bought? Is it already sold? We don't know what any of that looks like, but it creates the fear fodder in the midst of what's kind of like a news vacuum. So yesterday we were supposed to get the JOLTS report. We're still waiting on data. We're not getting the October jobs report. So outside of that, it just we got to find some other catalysts to move the markets. After the close yesterday, AMD, great report, right? If AMD wasn't a $250 stock coming into the report, it probably would have been up 10-15%, maybe even more. But because of where it's come, where it's rallied from, I think some of that is the reason why it's down in the pre-market. Otherwise, you would say, wow, so, I mean, stellar report, best margins numbers since 2023 in some of the aspects. And you know what? I'm not saying the business has turned around. It would have been into 250 without all the support with the government and the deals with OpenAI and all that stuff. But great report. So maybe that's giving a little bit to the market here. It was down to 236 at about 7 a.m. It's since reverse course it up to 244. So I just posted that. That's nice. That's a Kobesi letter. I forget what the name. They have like 1 million followers on FinTwit. They are the ultimate fear mongering post. They write these great posts. I mean, if you follow them in April, you would have went out to the supermarket, got all the bread, milk, and eggs. You would have sheltered in place for the next 6 months because you thought financial Armageddon was coming with the tariffs, right? And they had so many posts, and they still do, right? It's same with like the Zero Hedge. I mean, I used to follow him a lot back in the financial crisis. They blocked me on FinTwit a long time ago because it's the same kind of stuff. It's like fear mongering to its finest, right? And it's good to listen to read those things. So you need to have a little, you have to have both sides of the story. You can't just be full on bull horns on because then you're going to get smashed when there is some kind of pull. So that was there kind of showing the OpenAI deals and estimated valuation of their IPO when they IPO in 2027. That's so far the date. And half of that is Stargate, right? The big deal with Oracle AI and SoftBank. So, I mean, that's a lot of it. But then you start looking at these other deals too. It's pretty remarkable stuff. All right, that's that. I mean, if you listen to Palantir's interview on CNBC yesterday, I remember that's the reason why it kind of kept me out of the stock. I mean, I talked about it maybe a couple months ago too. It was $30. I remember looking at people pumping it. I'm like, this thing trades so crazy times its revenue multiple. I'm like, I couldn't see it even doubling, and here it is, $200. And then you listen to CEO, and that's the reason why, because it's like the way he talks. It's like, I don't know, rubs me the wrong way a little bit. All right, so that's kind of the overall market, but good for him, right? I mean, if you're able to execute on your business, I guess you could say whatever you want. It looks like they are, but again, I don't even know how they make their revenues, and it's $500 billion company. All right, so that's overall market. So just in regards to the overall support resistance on the SPY, I talked about that 679. I finally added as a support resistance. So if we get up to that today or tomorrow, that might provide some resistance. And it's 673 on the way down. And I don't know why I don't have the trend line there. I'll probably wait to see if it tests that today. It did in the pre-market. We got down to 672.50. If that doesn't hold, I'm going to be a little more aggressive on the put side. And, I always say I don't have my bear horns on. I just think there's an opportunity. And I'm trying to remember the last time or scenario where I was a little more skewed to downside and bearish. And I think it was January, February, where we had some setups. I don't know if it was like a bear flag setting up on the SPY. And the poll kind of made it look like the SPY was going to go down to 540. I think we were at 590 at the time. And, the rest is history. We went down to 480. I missed a lot of that move to the downside because I got shocked on Liberation Day, right? I mean, if I had known what was coming out, I would have been a little more apt to be a little aggressive on the put side. I'm not saying we have a similar setup here, but, the thing is this, everybody knows we're in a bubble. Are we really in a bubble, right? So that's kind of like my bullish stance is like by the time the market sells off is when no one's talking about. All right, that's overall market. Some good things under the radar yesterday or under the sell-off, the yields dropping under, well, at least dropping, dipping, and then the amount of stock trading over their 50-day moving average flat as a pancake. So you would think that they would have decreased more, and despite the 1% pull, held pat. So good stuff there. All right, quick on individual names. Wingstop first. Wing, I know like the back of my hand. So that's why over the years, as you do research on some of these companies and they're moving, it makes it a little easier to get convicted on a put or a call based on top line results or headlines or what have you, because you know like the back of your hand. Wingstop's one of those names. Gosh, I remember back in the day when it was $80 or whatever, I made my top 5 stock. It was a name that people looked at as a short name, and there was a lot of short pieces on it because very easy to create a bear case on it, right? Just chicken wings, right? But they've done great, and now the talks of the ghost kitchen, all those things that can really drive growth. And I think the CEO was at CNBC yesterday talking about the massive growth in their locations. But they reported earnings yesterday morning. I looked, I'm like, nothing crazy. But then you look at the chart, and the stock has come down substantially from 380 from its last earnings with no major catalyst, just outside of concern over the consumer, right? So then you have the earnings. You're like, wow, maybe the consumer's not so bad for Wing. And then it's at 220. It starts to run in the morning. I'm looking at the calls. Risk reward a little tough, but then it started to break higher. Got those 300s. Figured even if it got to 250, it'd be a double. Sure enough, goes to 250. Locks them in to cover costs for 100%. And then it chopped around into 240s. Didn't want to lose more profits. Locked some more in. And then I just held a couple into today. We'll say I put on the watch this morning. It's make or break. Gets back to 250 or so, I'll continue to hold. If not, I'll just close them out and revisit. Great story. You take a look at the moving averages. 284 is the 200-day. I don't know if we get there anytime soon, but 265 maybe a short-term target if it finds a bid here today. So that's Wingstop. Gold dipped yesterday, down nearly 2%. Used to move close on the rest of my November 13 dust calls. It's been a volatile, bumpy ride, and it will continue to be a bumpy ride. I almost got some December strikes. I'll be patient. Maybe today's the day. Gold's finding a bid here. Was all the way down to 39.35 overnight. Bounced up here, 39.90. That 4,000 threshold, it's like if you can't find a bid over that in the next day or two, I think it's headed to 3,800. So I'll continue to look for opportunities to play that. Not only that, you look at Dust, it's over its 50-day moving average. And tough to use technicals on a two-time ETF, but needless to say, it's found every time it's got up to that 50, that was kind of like the top for Dust. So one of these times it won't be the top. Hopefully this is it. So if it is, then I think the premiums are not pricing in any kind of move whatsoever, and they're which creates opportunity for some outsized moves. That's Dust. And then in the end of the day, I'm looking for hedge puts because some of my favorite days, getting the puts at the end of the day, locking in at the open and playing reversal. I don't know if we're going to get that here today. ASML was all the way down to 1,100 or 1,000 in the overnight hours, down to 1010. It's back here kind of flat, down here at 1030. When I got the puts, it was 1040 and change. I was looking for a decent risk reward put hedge, and Oracle and Broadcom premiums are expensive there. So I still have the Adobe puts as well, but I don't want to double dip on that. So then I switched. I'm looking at some other plays in the AI space, right? And Lam Research and ASML are two names front and center. Great stories, right? ASML has an active stock buyback plan. It's like one of those monster companies at the forefront. So when I get puts on a name, it's like it's not like I don't believe in the story. It's just I think there's an opportunity if the market pulls. And so we'll see what happens here today. I put on the watch list. Maybe 1050 will be a stop, depending on what the premiums look like. The calls are in the green here, so we'll see how it opens. But if there's continued weakness, it gets down to $1,000. The puts will be at least a double. So that's kind of the thought process there. And then other names. So on the earnings front, Lemonade beat and raised this morning. It's going to have a huge swing at the open. It's sitting here at $67. So depending if the option market opens right when the bell rings, I think the premiums will be squashed. So they'll probably be flat because of the implied move. But typically when Lemonade has moves post earnings, they're wide moves right after the open. It's like all the shorts or even the bulls come in and hit the tape right at the open. So it's either going to be in the mid 70s by 9:35 or it's going to be back in the low 60s. So it's a pure lotto by any sense. And so I'm not going to try and risk too much, but if I can find $70 calls, if the premiums come out and maybe those are 45 cents or 72 calls, the weekly strikes, I might look for some lottos just to play for that quick move at the open. And then after the close, Duolingo, I didn't get a chance to look at the open interest on those puts. I think it was the 260s, but my thoughts here on Duolingo. It's at multi-month lows. Actually, I think it's 52-week lows here yesterday. It was actually had relative strength with the market. Last time it had a beat and raise, I talk about the parallels with MDB. Back in August, it ran from 325 up to 450 and then melted, right? I think it's going to have another beat and raise. Is that the one that sends it again and finally quelches any bear narrative that's around the stock? Or is it the start of, hey, We've been right about this. This story's done. I'm not convicted enough to add some expensive calls. So if I can get some calls to play for a premium build and then lock it in, I'll do that. Still like Roku here. I'm just going to hold the rest of my freebie calls. No sense in trying to add anything just yet. And that's it. VKTX 230. They have a panel. So I don't know if that's going to move it too much. NVO and LLY, you have a bidding war, so that's helping some of these names. And also Turn, right? Turn Pharmaceuticals, kicking myself for not getting the 20s on Monday. And then, all the way up to 18 yesterday. I almost looked at the 20s, sitting here at 17 bucks. I'll probably just pass. Love the story though. All right, let's have a great day, folks. 5 minutes to open, rock and roll.